Here I have a Acura MDX, and as you can see, the front end was in an accident. No, I'm just joking. We're actually here just to replace a light bulb. Here I've got this Volkswagen CC, and the owner said she was driving, and then like the coolant light came on the dash, and she had someone check it, and the bottle was completely empty of coolant. So look inside of here, that's pretty empty. And just looking at the side of the engine here, or the front of it, I guess, you can see signs of something leaking. Alright, so I put some water in the tank and I pressurized it, and we are actually dropping very quickly, as you can see. And I could actually hear something pissing out of the engine. So let's go look for this leak. Oh yeah, look at that, that's crazy. Where are you at, little buddy? I'm underneath our Nissan Altima. We've been having an issue that every time you start it up, we get a pretty loud rattling coming from the exhaust system. So I just came down here to check it out. And it looks like this heat shield right here, I don't know if you could see, like right here it has two bands on it. That's so I get this to focus. So that's like a band clamping it down, and there's another right here. So it looks like there should be one more right here, but it's missing, or if it's supposed to be spot welded right there, and the welds have broken. So I think the easiest solution here was for me to just grab a clamp like this and clamp the whole thing down so it doesn't rattle anymore. It's super annoying, and you know, the only other way to fix this would be like to put some more tack welds right there, but I don't have a good enough welder to do that, and this is by far the easiest way to do it, is just put a clamp to hold the shield in place. Other than that, everything else looks good. We're here with another Honda Accord. It's something like a 2002. I'm not really sure on the year. Doesn't really matter. But it's actually my UPS guy. It's his car, his daughter's car. So I've worked on this car before. Last time we were here, I don't know if you guys remember, we put a new crank pulley on because it was completely separated. And this is also the same Accord that I showed you guys, that the subframe is completely rotted away. Look at that. There's actually nothing holding that subframe together. It sucks. But today it's here for front brakes. You can see that it is destroyed. It's just metal on metal, no more friction material left. So we got new front pads and rotors. He actually had to go back to AutoZone because he got the wrong pads. He didn't know what model the car was. So we got the correct rotors. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking everything apart and just wait on the pads. Well, this sucks. It's a brand new bottle of brake clean, and today is truly a nice day. It's a perfect day to be outside, just relax, and not social activity, just be outside, enjoy the weather, right? I got some grass to cut. As of right now, I got 2 cars scheduled for front brakes, which is the first one right here, this Accord. Everything's going pretty easy, and the next car I know is also going to go pretty easy. And I think I'm going to throw in the towel after this. No more working on cars for today, which is not bad because I invest just a couple of hours of working, make some decent money, and I could get back to doing things that I have to do around the house. It beats the heck out of going to work every day, I tell you that much. Figure 8-hour shift and then 45-minute drive to work, maybe like an hour drive back home, and you know, you're only making X amount of money per day getting paid hourly, right? I make more money knocking out 2 brake jobs in just a couple of hours, and I'm already home, as opposed to going to work, you know, wasting 10 hours in total going to work, and I make more money doing this. Truly grateful to be able to do this. Yeah, I think I might even have a beer today. I cannot remember the last time I had a beer. Working on this 95, right? 95? Yep, 95 Accord. New upper control arms, new brakes, new wheel bearings. So it's getting the works. Right now we're just pressing in the new wheel bearing into the hub. Yeah, here goes the old one right here. Now this wasn't a case so much that the wheel bearing was bad. It's just you know, we're in here to do the brakes, and all this crap has to come apart anyway, so it just made sense to do the wheel bearings while we're in here. So it's gonna get the same treatment on the left and the right side of the car. Alright, so we're all done on the left side of the car. Now we're on the right side, and here's a little before, and here it goes all set. We have new rotor, new pads, new wheel bearing, and a new upper control arm. So that's it. It's been a pain in the butt. But it's all done. We still have to put the axle nut on and torque it down. Alright, so far it seems like the alternator on this PT Cruiser is not charging, so I'm gonna have to get underneath the car so I could get to the wires on the actual alternator. Another issue the owner's having, he said, is oil leak. So it's been here for, I don't know, 20 minutes. You can see we got a decent sized puddle going on here, and it is just dripping right there, right off of the pan. See it coming right. Looks like more than one place. See it. It's dripping right off of there. So like the oil filter housing gasket looks like it's coming off from the oil filter itself, and even from the drain bolt. You know, and they were telling me about replacing the oil pan. Not so sure that it's the oil pan. Might just be like these things. Alright, so with this PT Cruiser, I was gonna make the call and say it's got a bad alternator, right? So I called the owner, and he was like, well, it's been to 2 other mechanics and they said it's not the alternator, that they tested it. First of all, okay, the mechanics that you took it to are the actual mechanic, like you went to an actual shop, and they said no, one of them is just some guy that they knew, and another one is a guy who used to work at a shop, you know, but now he just kind of does his own thing. I'm like, alright, so do you know how they tested it? They said, well, he said basically unplug the battery while the car is running, and they said the car would stay running. Alright, I don't have wiring diagrams or anything for this car. I was gonna say crappy car, but all I did was I unplugged the connector from the alternator to see if there was any green crusties or anything like that, right? Plugged it back in, turned the car on, and what do you know? We are now charging. So I don't know, that we have, was it a pin fitment issue? Is there something going on with the wire somewhere? I don't know, but at this point obviously I can't call a bad alternator. It's working. And the owner did buy an alternator. I'm just gonna tell him to return it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. Update on this PT Cruiser. It turns out that the oil pan actually has a crack in it. It's an aluminum oil pan. It has a hairline crack in it, and that's where the majority of the oil is leaking from. So at this point, you know, changing, you know, stopping the little drip from the drain bolt or the oil filter or whatever isn't really the main concern. The main concern is that pan has to get replaced, which I'm not going to be doing. So I recommended, you know, just take it to a shop and let them take care of it, and that's what the owner is going to do. As far as the alternator, I told him it's working now, and I don't feel comfortable putting the alternator on this car. Again, take it to a shop, let them properly diagnose it, because I don't want you to be upset with me. You know, I don't want you to feel like I robbed you or took your money and I didn't fix your car. So I'd rather not touch it. So I explained everything to him, and he still wants to put the alternator on. He said he's willing to accept the risk, and if it doesn't fix the car, he said he's not even going to be mad at me, and he's aware of you know, the risk that he's taken. I was as transparent as I could be with him, and he still wants to do it. So all I'm going to be doing is putting the alternator on this car. As you can see, I got all this stuff taken apart. I got the alternator out. It's a real pain in the butt to get it out, but it's done. First of all, someone's been in here before, because there was a lot of things that involve removing the alternator that were already loose, okay? Meaning like super loose. Like some bolts I could just take off with my finger. That's how loose they were, okay? But I made a mistake, guys, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I screwed up, and I feel like it cost the owner an alternator. I could have probably saved them this money, okay? And why am I saying that? Because, well, remember how I said I plugged this in and all of a sudden the alternator started charging again? Well, look at the two connector. Well, here's one connector right for the two wires, and then this is where the battery positive cable goes. So you know, if I'm reaching in here trying to get to this, unplugging it, you're going to touch this power wire right here. It's almost impossible to not move it at all. Okay, so the problem here is this stud right here. Let's look at this closely. See all the arcing and the white stuff, the melted plastic. And then when it came time to remove the nut that was on here, it came off so easy, guys. You would not believe how easy this thing came off. That tells me this power wire was not properly tightened down, and we were getting arcing here. And this explains why we were intermittently having an alternator that was charging and then it wouldn't charge. Now, how did I mess up? Well, this is how I could have saved the owner the money of having to buy a new alternator, because of my testing method. So I had my alligator clip right here, and initially at this point I'm reaching behind the alternator, right? I couldn't see anything. I'm just kind of going by feel. And I remember, let's see if I can get this, I remember clamping on, boom, right there, just like that. But the first thing that popped into my mind is, no, that's not solid enough. I felt like it was gonna pop off the second I go to start the engine. So what do? I take it off and I put it right on the crimp of the wire. When I started the engine, we still had only battery voltage here, which was like 12.3 or something like that. And at that point, I just assumed, right? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So I just assumed that this thing was tight, and I didn't continue testing, which the next step would have been to go to the stud. Had I gone to the stud, I would have noticed that we have charging voltage right here at the stud, but we had battery voltage right here at the crimp. I would have knew that something was wrong here. I would have just went in there, tightened it up, and it would have fixed this problem. But because I didn't catch this and I didn't test it properly, owner bought a alternator. And here's the thing, sure, I haven't put it on, sure, he could return it, but look at all this, I had to pull the axle out. Okay, it's a lot of work to get here. Do you really want to take that chance? You get what I'm saying? While it was still in the car, that's one thing, because everything's still in the car, you haven't taken anything apart. If you tighten this nut and it started charging, you're done. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, it's fixed. You found a problem, someone left a nut loose on it. But the fact that everything's already taken apart, do you really want to put in an old alternator, go through all this trouble? You get what I'm saying? So I mean, it's gonna get the new alternator anyway, but I feel stupid now because I should have tested it properly. I should have went to the stud. I had it in the back of my mind too, but I was being lazy, and it is what it is. So let's grab the new one and put it in. I'm in this PT Cruiser, just taking it out for a test drive, make sure everything's okay. Look at that turn signal light, it's always on. Making a right turn. We got a Impala here. It's here for two things, a rear wheel bearing as well as a blender or actuator. And you could actually hear it clicking right now, so it's gonna be this one right there. And as you can see, I've already started taking things apart, and it's super annoying. Believe it or not, the owner's been driving like this for over a year. So every time you open a door, close the door, or just randomly while driving, this will turn on, and it's obviously super annoying. But to deal with this for over a year, I could not do that. Here's the new parts. And of course, I opted out for AC Delco part, none of that dormant garbage. Looks to match up to the old one, so let's go ahead and slap it on. I got the new part installed with one screw in it. I still have to put the other one, but let's go ahead and test it. It is plugged in. We open the door, it's no longer clicking. I think I can hear it moving. Yep, and it just turned off. Sweet. Here's the rear wheel bearing. If you guys could see this, see it rocking back and forth. Now this car just came out of a body shop. I don't know, something happened right here to this left rear door, so the door had to get replaced, right? And I don't know how well this picks up on camera, but when the car is in direct sunlight, you can clearly tell that this door right here is a different color from the front door and the quarter panel. Okay, now initially, see, because I used to work at a body shop, so which means I kind of know how this stuff works. Initially, when you're gonna replace a door, you would have to blend into the front door and blend into the quarter panel, right? And I thought they must not have blended because this door does not match the front door. It doesn't match the quarter panel. But as I was coming around the back right here, and I know this is really difficult for you guys to see, but from right here to right here, I could see like the overspray of the clear coat, right? Where it gets really I don't know, grainy or dull. It looks like someone went at it with sandpaper right here. So basically they sprayed the side of the car with the clear coat, right, or the paint, and the overspray lands right here, but they didn't quite get rid of it. So you can see it right there. It just kind of stands out like a white spot. All right, so that got me thinking, okay, so maybe they did paint the quarter panel and the front door, but I'm like, why does the paint on the door not match? So they had the car for over a month. I know that's crazy, okay? A simple job like this, when I worked at the body shop, like replacing a door and, you know, painting the corner, blending into the door, does not take a month. You know, but they said, you know, due to COVID-19, they could not get parts, which is understandable. So the car was there for over a month. But it still got me thinking, why doesn't the door match? Well, what I'm thinking happened is they removed the old door off of the car. They sprayed the quarter panel, right? They mixed their paint, sprayed the quarter panel, and maybe even sprayed the front door, which, let me see if it looks like they painted it. I don't know, I kind of see some rough texture inside of here. See a slight line right there. See dryness in the clear coat. So yeah, I'm gonna say this door was painted. Okay, yeah, it was definitely painted. All right, so what I'm thinking they did is they mixed up their paint, you know, their red color. They painted the quarter, painted the door, and then they were waiting for the new door to arrive. And granted, like I said, it was there for a month. So when the new door finally came in, I think they mixed up a different batch of paint, and then they painted the door. Basically, all I'm trying to get at is, I don't think this door was painted with the same paint that the quarter panel and the door was painted with, because they don't match. It stands out like a sore thumb whenever the sun is hitting it. Obviously the owner's not happy with it, but seeing that they had her car for a month, they told her she could bring it back if she wants. But how much longer are they going to keep the car this time, you know? And on top of that, she's paying for a rental, so for a whole month she's paying for a rental. So you can see how that gets really annoying and frustrating. And when the owner pointed out that the door was a different color, they told her, oh no, it just needs to sit in the sun for a little while, it'll lighten up and it'll match the rest. Yeah, it's all BS, guys. That's not how this stuff works. To top it off, you know, I see overspray. See the overspray on this? See overspray right there, so that sucks. Look at the muffler, completely painted red. Isn't that shitty? Yeah, like I would not be happy with this. This is why when it comes down to painting my car, I'm painting it myself, so you don't get crappy work like this, you know what I mean? Alright, so I'm normally not on this side of the camera, you guys know that, but yesterday when I was working on that PT Cruiser, I slid under it, I hit like a dust shield or something, and all this dirt fell into my eyes, and in my right eye I've had nothing but pain and agony all night. It's hard to sleep, super irritating. I woke up this morning with my eyelids like glued shut. You know, you figure it's because I'm trying to get the job done as fast as possible, so you kind of skip out on, you know, your safety equipment, even though it's a real stupid thing to do. Yeah, but I hurt myself, and now I'm paying for it because it's super irritated, and it just ends up wasting more time. The time you didn't want to spend to go get your glasses or your glove. You know, there's a whole multitude of ways that you could hurt yourself when working on a car. The point is, I should have known better, and of course I should be wearing my PPE when I'm working on cars. The point of this is just you know, don't become complacent, guys. Just because you work on cars and, you know, all day every day, don't forget about your safety equipment, because it really sucks when you get hurt, and at the end of the day it's just gonna end up costing you time and money and your health, more importantly. So from now on, I'm really gonna be pushing myself to be wearing my glasses, you know, and hearing aid. I always try to do that, you know, hearing protection, I mean, you know, that's something I've always kept in mind. But glasses, I don't like them because they fog up, and I know you can make a million excuses, right? They're hard to see, they fog up, blah blah blah, but wear your glasses, guys. It's not fun, trust me. I've been in pain all night, and this morning isn't any better. There we go, new wheel bearing is installed. It's not gonna get any easier than this, guys. This really is like the easiest wheel bearing you can do. Looking at the back brakes, they're pretty much done for, so I'll let the owner know about that. But other than that, let's go ahead and put everything back together. There we go, no more shaking, nice and solid, and I'm done with this Impala. Got a 2011 Hyundai Sonata here, and it's here for 2 front lower control arms. That's the old one. I've already done the one on the driver's side, as you can see. So initially when I was pulling them out, I was like, well, you know, what was the reason for replacing these? Because this ball joint seems nice and tight. This one has some cracking right along the edges right here, but it's not bad. Then the real problem is right here at this bushing. You know, that moved a lot. It doesn't look like it on camera, but there's actually a lot of movement in this bushing. You can even see it moving back and forth. So that's why this side is getting replaced. I guess I'll find out about the other side once I get over there. Maybe it's the same exact issue. And then when you go to close the door, it hits the striker, which is this thing right here. So the door would hit it and then pick itself up, and every time you open the door it would kind of drop off and then open, which is super annoying. I've worked on this woman's car a lot, and every time she brings a car here, it's the first thing I always notice whenever I open a door, that the door kind of falls down when you open it. So I decided to, I mean, you know, I checked the hinges back here and everything seems nice and tight. The door doesn't move, it's nice and solid. So the only thing I could possibly think of is this striker had to be out of place. So all I did was adjusted it, and sure enough, the door opens up perfectly now. It doesn't drop or raise whenever you open or close it. So yeah, I don't know what caused it, but you can see marks right here. I don't know what happened. Something was hitting, or someone was hitting it right here. I don't know. 03 Accord here. It's here for a front right wheel bearing, and we're going to replace the headlights as well, because you can see how these look. I replaced these about 2 years ago, but you can see how they look now. You can't see anything through this at night. It's horrible. So we have a new set of headlights right here. They're just more aftermarket stuff. They should last a few more years. So we're going to do that, the wheel bearing, and we also have a new oil pressure sensor, if you have to get back there. Okay, carne asada?
Carne asada, okay. And how's Tito?
Oh, in Tito's house?
In the basement.
Okay.
Alright.
Beautiful day outside. Today I got a Mercedes in the garage. It's here for air filters. It's got 2 of them, 1 on each side. Gonna get the spark plugs changed out. Stabilizer links and both front lower control arms. Now, I didn't diagnose any of this or say that the car needs, I'm sure it could use all this maintenance, but it was actually taken to a dealer, and the dealer is the one that suggested all this stuff gets done. They also said something about the rear springs, but you know, just with buying the parts that we're doing here and the labor involved, there was already too much money for the owner. So we're gonna skip out on the rear springs for now and maybe visit that on a different date. But let's go ahead and get this work knocked out. As you can see, I started with the filters, easiest thing. This is my first time changing plugs on a Mercedes like this, or I should say this type of engine, and it's actually super easy. I don't understand why they charge so much to change plugs. I think it's just one of those things where you know, they see you coming from a mile away with a BMW, a Mercedes, whatever, right? So they raise up the prices, when in fact changing plugs on this is probably just slightly more difficult than changing plugs on like a Chevy Aveo or something, a little 4-cylinder. Yeah, it's super easy. Yeah, so I charge just regular price. Like if I was just doing regular plugs, I'm not gonna, you know, jack up the prices just like some of these shops doing just because they're driving a Mercedes. That's crazy. But yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. As you can see, I got the front left floor control arm out, and this ball joint is completely shot. Now, I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos of when I was doing the brakes on this Mercedes that when you accelerate, you hear a clunky noise coming from up front, and when you hit the brake, you hear another clunky noise. And I believe this is the cause of that noise. So, you know, new lower control arm is gonna fix that. Alright, so I'm just about done with this Mercedes. It's pretty much turned into like an all-day project. This thing was a pain in the butt, but I'm just about done. Okay, but as you can see, tap and die set is out. Tap and die set, and that's never a good sign, right? Well, the new stabilizer links that's supposed to be like, you know, 10-15 minute job to just slap the new ones on turns into over an hour. Why? Because the nuts that they supply with the stabilizer links are not round. If you look at them closely, they're more of like an oval shaped, and they do this, I'm assuming, is so that once you tighten them down, they pretty much lock in place and they're not going to back themselves out. The problem with this is they're so far out of round that you can only get it on a few threads before it eats up the threads. It completely locks it in place, so you can't even tighten this thing, or when you go to try to back it out, it's almost impossible because it's already chewed up the threads, and it damn near damages your brand new stabilizer links. I've even had it go, because this is not the first time it's happened to me. It's happened to me on different cars before. It's even got to the point one time where I had to replace the brand new stabilizer link. It's stupid. This is such a stupid design. They need to stop doing this. It's unusable. All it does is damage your new parts, waste your time, waste your money. Frustrating. So on this one, it only went on a few threads, then I had to fight with it to get it off, and then I had to pull out the tap and die set to fix the threads. And I found some nuts over here that I'm in my collection of nuts and bolts, and I just put a new nut on it. It threaded it on nicely. And the bottom one, I just tossed out the nut. Before I even let it turn into a problem like this, I just tossed out the nut and just grabbed a different one and put it on there. This is such a stupid design. Whoever came up with this shit is just an idiot, okay? They need to stop crushing these nuts. Just leave them how they are. They're way better off. But just a little heads up for any of you guys doing stabilizer links. If you see that the nuts are like oval shaped, go ahead, toss them out, because it's going to cost you more headache than what it's worth. And just find a different set of nuts that's going to fit your stabilizer links. Got this Hyundai Sonata here. This is the one that got towed in because it turned into a crank no start. And it turns out there was just no fuel in the tank, so all I had to do was put gasoline in it. Ever since that day, which I don't know, a month or two ago, I went ahead and ordered spark plugs, air filter, and a cabin air filter. And she is just getting around to bringing the car back to me to get it done. So yeah, I've been having these parts for like a month or two. Anyway, let's go ahead and knock it out. Looks like it's gonna be pretty easy stuff here. As you can see, I got the air filter out. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's definitely time for a replacement, so let's pop the new one in. Now, as far as the spark plugs, all I did was I took out the ignition coils. You can see them sitting up there. The reason for that, I'm gonna let it sit for now, is because she just got here, so everything is really hot. You know, you shouldn't be pulling out spark plugs when the cylinder head is that hot. So I'm gonna focus on the air filter and the cabin filter for now, and then let the car sit for another, I don't know, 30-40 minutes before I touch the spark plugs. Okay, so the cabin filter sits back here. Place your bets now on how bad it looks. I don't know, maybe it's been changed. I have no idea. This really does require two hands. Definitely a good amount of leaves here, but it's not the worst thing I've seen. Oh, wait a minute. Once you look through the top, it does look pretty bad. Yeah, this thing's been in here for quite some time. Unless it's been serviced at the dealer, which isn't really too often. I'm gonna have to say this is the original cabin filter. Alright, so I got the old plugs out, and these gaps are absolutely massive. Look at that. So let's grab a brand new one and kind of compare. See the gap on this compared to something like that. So obviously these plugs have been in here for quite some time because this gap is much tighter. These are, so I ordered a set of NGKs, and what came out of here is auto lights. I'm not sure if these are the original plugs for the car. I don't think they are, but the engine should be running a little bit smoother because the gaps on these is just maybe, I want to say like double what the gap should be. Here I've got a Chevy 1500, and this actually belongs to the brother of the guy who brought me that Chevy Colorado, the one that I just showed you guys that had the crappy body work done to it. So you know, it's here to get like the brakes and suspension, you know, inspected, because he just got it. He said it feels weird, it's all over the road. But one of the first things he asked me is if I do body work. Look at that. I'm not touching this thing. I tell everyone I don't do body work. Why? Because this is the first type of crap they want you to fix. Get out of here with that crap. I'm not touching this.